There's a moment when you realize all the things they said were lies. It's time to open up your eyes, 'cause we were made to fly. We can do anything. We'll shine like the sun, the moon, the stars. We can go anywhere. They'll see us no matter where we are, 'cause we got the fire. Oh, we got the fire. Show the world the impossible is possible. Show the world the impossible is possible. There's a moment when you understand. You don't gotta follow all the plans. It's time to open up your hands.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining me early this Friday, September the 24th, as we discuss and debrief everything that happened yesterday at our Cobb County School District Board of Education meeting, our monthly meeting. And as you may recall, our meeting was originally scheduled for last Thursday. However, recognizing that was Yom Kippur, which is the most holy holiday, we moved our meeting to yesterday. And so we were able to have our meeting on yesterday. And so we have a lot to talk about. And so I think we're going to go ahead and get into it. Those of you that are in the chats, if you're watching from either Facebook or YouTube, hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Unita. How are you doing this morning? Unita is always a ray of sunshine. So thank you for joining us this morning. And let me know you're here this morning. And if you have any questions and you need some clarifying questions, please, please, please put them in the chat. I received many of your comments on last night, and your text messages, and your DMs, because everybody's in my inbox. I appreciate it. And for several of you that I told I would reach back out to and call today, we're definitely going to do that too. Hey, Jennifer, no, you're the GOAT too. And so we're going to definitely get into this meeting this morning. So let's see. Make sure I got everything I need to get going this morning. All right. There we go. Hey, how you doing? Good morning, Maureen. Ms. Banks, good to have you again this morning. I appreciate you guys joining us. So what I have realized is the comments, sometimes I will go back and look at the comments later, and I'll realize that all the comments from all three of these pages do not feed into the system here, so I can't see your comments all at one time. And so oftentimes I'm only looking at one social media feed. And so that's why I may not have gotten to your questions in the past, because they just did not show up on this end. But just know that, we go back through the feed, and then we also make sure that we answer your questions and get you the necessary support that you need. So good morning. Let's get started. Let's start off with just some basic highlights. Our CFO reached out and did a presentation in regards to a new policy with the Georgia Department of Education in regards to making sure that all boards members and in the Board of Education meeting that we discuss the finances of the school district on a monthly basis. And so there was a new template, and then just some overall understanding as to why the numbers will look the way that they look based on timeframes when different dollars actually come into the school district, and actually how the Georgia Department of Education funds actually come into the school district. Because we do know that there's several different pots of money that fund our schools. There's our QBE, which is our full-time students number, and then the State Department gives us money based on the number of full-time students, and we staff accordingly based on that formula. Then, also our property tax here in Cobb County. If you look at your tax bills, those homeowners, you'll know that the lion's share of your taxes goes to public schools. And then we also receive some federal funding as well. And the federal funding money is a lot smaller pocket of money, but that money is usually used to actually enhance or support the most vulnerable within our population. So when you see these grants and different things that are funded by the federal government, it is because they are trying to meet a need, because there's an obvious need within the within the student population or within your community that they're trying to help assist with. And so, and we'll probably get into that a little later, because something, there were some things that came up in regards to even some of that on yesterday, and there wasn't a lot of clarity given. So, but we'll address it. We did get that information in regards to how that financial piece will rotate in our meetings monthly, and we'll be giving that information monthly. So that was good. Also, let's see. We talked about COVID and how it affects QBE and things like that, and the superintendent did give some clarity, and some of the things I guess that we're looking forward to and ensuring is that the legislature will allow the hold harmless to still be in effect as long as we're in COVID, because as you know, our numbers as far as students that we support pre-COVID and now, there's a large number, 5,000-6,000 student difference, and so that does affect funding. But because of the hold harmless, we were able to get pre-COVID QBE funding, and so we're hoping that is continued. And I'll be reaching out as well to different legislators just to have a conversation on that, and just to see where we are with that, to ensure that is the case, so that we're not just living in hopes that things will be what we hope they will be. So we were talking about some of those federal grants. There's a 21st Century Learning Grant that was on the agenda, and this was to support several schools. Baker Elementary, Big Shanty, and also here in Post 3, Riverside Elementary, for after school programming or before school programming. And it's always tied to some type of enrichment in regards to supporting these groups. And so we talked a little bit about that. And so the question that I asked was, again, these are 5-year grants, and we do have an opportunity now before October to engage our principals to say, hey, are we, what are we doing? Are we going to engage in this grant so that we can also ensure that our, after school students or before and after care, that we have programming to help close the academic gaps that we're seeing within our community, especially now because of COVID. So we do have that opportunity now between now and October to engage our principals, this principal advisory councils, and all the different avenues that we have to reach out to our principals to help us get to the place to where we can encourage them to look at programming that's going to close academic gaps and build our educational collateral for our children before and after care. This is a great program that does it. The reality is this particular program, again, is tied to need. So while we have 112 schools, all 112 just don't qualify. I'm sure we look at different metrics as the school would have to have at least 40% student free and reduced lunch, and it's in other different criterias that are in place so that those that are applying for these grants, they have to actually meet a specific need. And this one here is about meeting community need. There has to be a need within the community as to, what is happening in your community that would justify saying, hey, we're going to give you some money for aftercare programming that encourages students to come to the aftercare programming. So we're probably going to have someone come soon, and I've already reached out to someone with the Georgia Department of Education to do a town hall for this before the October deadline, so that we are aware of what these programs are and how they benefit our community. And so we will have that soon. So please be on the lookout for that. They actually confirmed just this morning saying, yes, we are all on board. And so we'll come back through this same format to discuss the title. Well, it's the 21st Century Learning Grant. And so thank you for those questions that I received yesterday while we were in the meeting in regards to this as well. And the question that I raised in regards to Riverside Elementary, when they applied for this particular grant, they were a primary school, so they were K1. And the programming piece that was written supports K1. And so now that it is a K5 school, we were discussing how we move forward in regards to making sure that we still add similar supports for those other grade levels as well. So that was what it is for that particular piece within our meetings. And yes, Valerie, yeah, that is exactly right. So all of the schools in post 3 would qualify. That is a good understanding, and that is one of those things that I wanted to was attempting to have raised, but it was not. But yes. Okay. All right. Let's get to public comment. We'll get to public comment. So the superintendent and our chairman of the board read a statement in regards to the anti-Semitic graffiti and different things that we have experienced within our school district. And so it was good to hear that excuses were not being made. Oftentimes we brush things off as, oh, that's just children being children and things of that nature, but not necessarily understanding the gravity of the hate and how it affects our communities and and just the trauma of coming to school in a place that is hateful. And so I'm glad to hear that we were able to make a statement to say that, it's not going to be accepted, and we will be following up through our disciplinary process and making sure that we're holding students accountable for their behavior. For me, it is one of those things where I oftentimes get in a place where I feel like it is important for us not necessarily to discipline kids into the right thing, but we support kids into the right thing by ensuring that they have the necessary tools to be supported in their social emotional learning as they're learning etiquette and as they're learning how to engage with people that are different from you, that have a different thought process than you, and having empathy and all those different skills that are necessary to have well-rounded, respectful citizens. And so that is more so my stance on that. I hate that this happened, but again, we have to support these efforts with the right training for our educators, for our principals, our administrators, our students, our community. And so we'll be looking to see how that's going to happen moving forward, because this is a really challenging situation as it relates to this, not just the anti-Semitism, but just hate overall. And so that's why I want to jump into the public comments, because in the first session, we were joined by two rabbis, and so we appreciate them coming and speaking to us. It was really appreciated. Rabbi Larry opened up the meeting, and he talked about taking a stand against anti-Semitism and engaging in the work that, as far as what we're going to engage in, as far as coming to some type of, not necessarily resolution, but plan of action on how we address these items and address these concerns when they come up again. Because, it's funny. I received a call from a young, young man who lives in Smyrna, or he lives in Vinings area now, and he was telling me that his children went through Pope High School in 1983, and they're Jewish, and they were met with the same hate back in 1983, and so that particular community has a running tab of instances of their children going to schools just not feeling safe, being bullied because of their faith. And so we need to find a way to stop something that could be perceived as systemic, and add support to the community so that we have a loving community that's embracing all the different changes. Our community is very diverse. Cobb County is a very diverse community, and we need to be able to ensure that people have the skills they need to embrace that change and embrace that the diversity that makes Cobb County a great place to live. So Larry, Rabbi Larry came. We appreciate him. Stacy Efrat, she came and spoke. She spoke in regards to, and she's with the group Watching the Funds Cobb. She came to speak in regards to poor ventilation within our school buildings and how that relates to, some of the monies, the CARES Act money and things that we have, and safety protocols for COVID. The next person to speak was Shelby Carroll, and she came and she was speaking in regards to mass choice and her thought process in regards to the mass choice. John Hanson, he's been several times to the meetings as well, and he spoke in regards to several things. Actually, it had mass choice on here. He did speak in regards to mass choice at the end, but he spoke in regards to Cognia. He spoke in regards to CRT as well. So that topic is still coming back up, and then also COVID and the mass choice. Then the next person to speak was Mitzi. She is she talked at well, she lives in Cobb County, but she talked about her time at Simpson Middle School as a child growing up, and she was bullied, and so she talked about her experience in that area as it relates to and just how it relates to what's happening now within our community. Our next person was Rabbi Dan. And so, yes, Rabbi Dan came and he talked about anti-Semitism. And again, you could hear the frustration and the pain in his voice when he was speaking in regards to how we get to the place of reconciliation and healing, and then how we move forward and equip our community with the necessary supports to ensure that we can remove what we call hate, this place of hate, or remove it out of our schools. And within our communities. The next person was Carolyn Hoko. She's also a regular at our meetings and public comment. And she spoke in regards to ADL. And I believe a piece of programming they used to have called No Place for Hate being removed from our district website and not being used to support our communities. And that is one of the programs that were used to support those communities that that have issues much like what we're dealing with right now with the anti-Semitism. They have creates that help support schools. Valerie, you said, what ventilation? South Cobb High School principal advised me leave doors open and cleaning the AC unit coils is the remedy for our campus. Thank you. We will follow up on that one. I appreciate that, Valerie. So yes. Let me go back to Rabbi Dan for a second. Rabbi Dan actually came representing 5 synagogues. And his conversation was not just about anti-Semitism, but it was about all hate and the racism and some of those other things that are plaguing our community. And so I want to make sure that we're clear. The anti-Semitism is a form of hate, and that just like racism and everything else. And so the call is not just for anti-Semitism, but the call is addressing hate in any form, to include racism. Our next speaker was Patty, and her comments were directed toward the 4 majority members and the super in regards to poor communication with stakeholders around anti-Semitism. And then we had Keith. Keith came and he gave us a reference of Cobb County in regards to our own history here in Cobb County. We're talking about Leo Frank, and which was 100 years ago, but talked about the history of anti-Semitism here in Cobb County. And so he came and spoke. Let's see. Rachel was our last speaker, and she's a former student and now a longtime resident of Cobb County who also was a victim of anti-Semitism, I believe almost 40 years ago. And so again, more people coming to express how there's a need for support because again, our citizens have come through Cobb schools and have experienced the same level of hate and bigotry, while they were students, and now they're grown, have children, and now their children are now part of the same cycle that we want to do. So Let's see, Jennifer, you said thank you for making the distinction between anti-Semitism and racism and pointing out that Cobb must address both. Yeah, that is exactly. And Rabbi, I believe it was Rabbi, was it Dan? Yeah, Rabbi Dan. He made that part of his statement, and so I wanted to make sure I added that piece of clarity as well, because I am receiving comments from everybody, and most of those comments are, well, don't let them forget about the racism, because it's a form of hate and it's still there as well. So thank you for pointing that out. All right. So then the night session, we had 14 people come and speak, and we're going to go through those quickly. Again, first, senior at Wheeler High School became, and she talked about the Wheeler name change. And so thank you. And it's important. I like public comment because it allows me to engage and hear what our citizenry is saying around the county. Because while I'm only elected to post 3 here in South Cobb, my responsibility is all 110,000 students, or however many it is right now, and all 114 schools, and every zip code in Cobb County, and every resident in Cobb County. So it is important that I hear what you're saying, so that it gives me an opportunity to really make a well-informed decision on different things, or ask the right questions. Not necessarily just, again, not just here in Post 3 and in South Cobb, because we have a different set of needs versus someone who lives on the other side of town. So I appreciate that. Hannah Levy, she's a sophomore at Lassiter High School, and she talked about her experience with anti-Semitism at Lassiter High School. Let me tell you something. There's some children, for some reason, God has made me in a way where children have a gateway to my heart immediately. And for some reason, I can always feel the pain or the joy or whatever emotion it is that children have. And it is very hard for me sometimes to sit and listen to children when they are expressing the different things that are happening with them. And and she was telling us, the board, about anti-Semitism at Lassiter High School. And I'm telling you, if I could have ran to a door to get out to get myself back together, I probably would have did it, because it was a very challenging moment. And so I understood where Hannah was. I did. Valerie, we cannot let them forget about racism. The Jewish community, rightfully so, won't be giving them a pass. This should be there should be outrages, as should we. That's right. And so then we had Kimberly Roberto. She came and she talked about mass choice. She also talked about CRT and loosened restrictions and health freedom. And then we had Ms. Laura Judge. She's one of the parents that comes on a regular basis. Her son comes, Master Judge, and he speaks. But Laura, she spoke in regards to ADL and No Place for Hate curriculum. And, she tied it into the danger of CRT and removing programming such as this that adds support to ensuring that our students have the social emotional learning for that. Yes, Laura, thank you. I thank you for joining us this morning. She says, thank you for joining us, Ms. Johnson. At the very least, the ARP fund should be used to update MERV filters to industry standards in all buildings. When I asked our principals, they didn't know when the air filters get changed. So we need to work on messaging in regards to that. Thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Johnson. So again, thank you, Ms. Judge. We appreciate you coming to speak and advocating for our children and our community schools. John Pumley, he wants to he wanted to know why the minority board of education members asked for the review, and I thought that was a great question, and more than happy to answer for you. In fact, you can go to the district website, cobbk12.org. You will find my contact information there, my email address, my phone number, and I'm more than happy to talk to you over the phone, email back and forth, or meet you somewhere in Cobb County, and we can sit down and have a full conversation in regards to it. I think that that warrants me answering your question. You asked, I'm more than happy to do that, and give you some information to take with you so that you can help understand where I am as a elected official here in Cobb County, as it relates to supporting students within the Cobb County School District. So more than happy to do that. He also wanted to talk in regards, he also spoke in regards to mass choice. So um, you said, oh, Yanita, isn't it obvious why? For some people, no, because again, our experience is not everyone else's experience. And what happens in our schools is not happening in every school. Just like anti-Semitism isn't happening in South Cobb schools. I mean, it could happen down here, but our population of Jewish people, well, we just, when it comes to this kind of hate, that's, anti-Semitism is not our issue. So different schools have different needs and have different things that they need, and different communities need to be supported in different ways. And so for him, he might not understand unless he hears it directly from someone who's people who have feet on the ground down here. So yes, I'm more than happy to help him with some understanding and some rationale. Let's see. Alan came, and he's with Families Against Racism, and he said that he was standing in solidarity with our Jewish community. He asked us to do 3 things. That was to listen, name the evil, and also act. And so we appreciate that. I like action items. I like for action items to come, because that gives us something to move with, other than just hearing what the concern is, because I believe we know what the concern is, and so that's important. And then Tova Ringland, she's our special needs advocate. She comes to the board, and she talks on a monthly basis, and we appreciate that. Training given to school personnel about how to best support students with autism, and we appreciate that, because I always believe that we have room for improvement, especially as it relates to our special needs children, and making sure that they are supported, and making sure the staff that we have assigned to those students are also supported with the necessary tools. And I think we can always be working toward being better in that place. And so I appreciate you coming, as always. Okay, we had Jennifer, here we go. The ban on CRT, which ends up being an umbrella ban for all anti-racism and anti-bias efforts, prohibits educators from making these incidents of hate teachable moments. That's good. The issues are complex, and kids need help understanding how to navigate, both the kids who experience the harm and the kids who inflict it. Harsh punishment is not the only answer. I agree. Many of us who are educators are experts on teaching kids in developmentally appropriate ways about racism and etc. They took away our ability to do that. And this is exactly what we're talking about, Jennifer, making sure that we have those supports available and made available, so that when instances like these come up, we have an arsenal to pull from, and we're not trying to determine what we want to talk about and what we don't want to talk about. We want to just make sure we have what we need to support children and support communities. No one should go to school feeling that the environment is not safe. That's the bottom line. There's no other way around it. So we have to support safe learning environments and good culture and climate within our schools. And so this conversation is not over. We will be working, as our chairman said, over the next coming months to see what we can do to help support our superintendent and support our educators in regards to how we move forward. All right. So then let's see. Oh, the last 5. And I'll come back to you, Valerie. I do see your question. Christine McKinnell, she's with No Left Turn in Education. And she's a resident of Cobb County, and she wants us to work together as one community. And I thank you for coming, Christine, and sharing with the board as well. We had Miss Aviva come, and she spoke, and she had 4 rabbis to stand with her while she was speaking. And she spoke in regards to anti-Semitism and racism, and taking a school against anti-Semitism in our schools. And so thank you for sharing with us again. Again, this is a very challenging moment, and hopefully we will embrace this moment and help be a part of the change we want to see within our community. Ms. Sanders came. She's a junior at Wheeler High School, and she spoke in regards to the Wheeler name change. But she also had action items. She wants us to amend the naming policy to allow the community to decide on the name, local governance. And so thank you, Ms. Sanders. And then she was followed up by um, Ms. VJ. Lord, please forgive me, because it is never my intentions to mess up names, but I am still learning on how to uh, learn how we pronounce some of these names. And so, and it's so funny because as African Americans, we get this all the time, right? And so I know how sensitive it is, and so please accept my apology. But she's a senior at Wheeler High School, and she came and spoke in regards to the Wheeler name change as well, and the importance of a name, and also asked again that we amend the policy. Followed by Ms. Jennifer Susko, who is actually on the line with us now. You came and spoke in regards to well, there was several things that I wrote down here, but one of the things that you mentioned, that Cobb is definitely a place of hate, and I wanted to address that. And I just don't think we have to be. I think we have good people, but we're not supported. And I believe that the community needs to be supported in a way to where we understand that we can value everyone's humanity, um, and we can value everyone's diversity, and still be a loving community. And I just think that we have some areas and where we need to grow, and this is definitely one of those areas. And so I look forward to your engagement, involvement in helping us and assisting us, and how we get to a place of people feeling safe, our children feeling safe in their schools. And really, that's the most important thing for me, is making sure that we have safe learning environments across the county. And as of right now, it doesn't feel that way, based on children that the children that have come and spoke to us, and then just based on the incidents at hand that are happening. So also followed by that was one of my favorites, Miss Joey Shepard. Listen, Zoe lives here in Mableton. She attends Wheeler High School through the Magnet program, and she is an advocate who comes just about every month in regards to the Wheeler Name Change Committee. And as always, your words were very powerful. They were very pointed, and action above words. That's what it boiled down to. And Zoe, you were, as always, I appreciate you coming. Your mother was there supporting, and I appreciate Ms. Rhonda. And thank you again for coming and speaking and sharing with the Board of Education. Our last speaker was Amy Buchanan, and she's a speech language pathologist. And she came to speak in regards to mass choice and some of the dangers of children wearing masks all day. And she also spoke in regards to, I guess, there was a curriculum called Second Steps, or Second Steps curriculum. And she raised a concern in regards to ISBN numbers being on all curricula items and being on our website. And so I don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of that, and what that concern was with. But I'll probably reach out to you, Miss Amy, sometime this week, this weekend, or sometime late part of next week, to discuss that further, just so I get some clarity on what it is that you were asking. Thank you. All right, so that was public comment, and then so now let's get into superintendent comments. Let me find those. We discussed the work session, I believe. Yes. So that in the superintendent's report. And now let's look at the night session superintendent. Make sure I'm not missing anything. There was some concerns with the F&T committee, and not having an opportunity to meet. And so I guess we still need to get clarity on what the resolution is for that. Our Board of Education also approved our training for next year. So that making sure that we have all the necessary supports we need to have that training that we need, annual training, because we get annual training from Georgia School Board Association and other different places as well. And so we need 9 hours annually. I think I needed more hours this year because this was my first year. And so fortunately, we were able to squeeze it in at the last minute and get it in. And so I have all my training hours. Actually, I have more than what's needed, but that was, but that's good. And thank you, Ms. Judge. Thank you for keeping me on track. This is something that something happened yesterday that was it was very beautiful. I actually was outside because we were invited to come outside And so while we were outside, I was introduced by one of our state representatives in Fulton County, Mr. Representative Walensky, and he wanted to introduce me to Mr. Herschel Greenblatt. He is a Holocaust survivor, and it was exciting to go out and to just meet with him and to talk with him and to listen, and to hear and to just get a different perspective. And so, thank you, Representative Walensky, for the introduction. Um, and Herschel is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful individual. And he had a lot of wisdom that he was sharing in just a few moments. And he's a big support for just knowledge around the Holocaust and the trauma that it has created, and that experience, and just having that experience and sharing that. And so I was able to speak with the chairman of our board to make sure that we or to request that we acknowledge his presence, and we did. And it was just a beautiful moment to have him come down and be greeted by the board, and to offer, just even in just that short amount of time, just brief words of wisdom. I mean, they were quick, but they were important. And so we appreciate him coming and sharing with us. That was one of those memorable moments that I will remember, in regards to that. Also, while we were out earlier in the day, um, we were able to speak with, let me see if I have the graphic here. I think I do. Yeah, we were able to speak with these three young ladies. Uh, we have some of the brightest kids in the world here within the Cobb County School District. Let me just say this. These young ladies they were part of the Inventions program. And if you watch the board meeting, we recognized educators that were part of this program that were, recognized in regards to their involvement with this. But these three young ladies won first place um, with this program with Georgia Tech, where they were presenting a solution to a world problem. And um, and it was tech based. And I'm telling you, I was blown away by them trying explaining to me what the actual project was. And it won. But it's an app that would allow you to scan any product that you may purchase, and it will tell you how you can properly um, dispose of that item through recycling. So if there was like a let's just, I'm using something in the refrigerator, a container of milk, you would scan it and it would tell you how to properly dispose of that particular item, whether you need to wash the container out, or you can just, take the cap off, or you can just drop it in the recycle bin and they'll take it just as is, and all that kind of stuff. And so it was a very good conversation. I'm thinking it is a $1 billion award winning app, if it gets developed. And but it was exciting to it was just exciting to engage with them. And then some of the questions that came from my colleagues, Dr. Howard and Sharice Davis, to them in regards to what's the next steps, and just explaining recycling in general and some of those things. Oh, it was good. And their teachers came from last year, and they were there to help celebrate with them. And so we took pictures and hopefully encourage them to continue doing what they're doing and moving forward. So just a good time on yesterday afternoon in regards to celebrating our student leaders as well. Let's see. I see we got another comment. Yep, Miss Laura Tucker. Yep, thank you. So the superintendent's remarks, he spoke of Miss Dewberry, and she was one of our support staffs that passed just recently. And then we talked about the 20th anniversary of 9/11, 9/11, and now it's known as Patriots Day, and so we recognize that. Then we also recognized our public safety department within the Cobb County School District, because October the 4th through the 8th is Public Safety Appreciation Week, and so we were able to appreciate and shake hands with Chief Story, who's over our police department, and his command staff. And so it was exciting to meet and shake hands with them. And then we had a presentation from the superintendent in regards to COVID-19. And so this was a big deal. This was exciting to finally have some conversation, or no, well, this was exciting to have the a presentation in regards to COVID-19 and why we make the decisions that we make as a school district. And so I thought this was it was good. I wanted to actually take a moment to appreciate the superintendent for bringing it to us, because again, it's it helps us to field a lot of the questions that we receive from many of you when we know why we do the things that we're doing and why we operate the way that we operate. And so this was an excellent time for the superintendent to share with us. He had data points and different slides and different things. And so it was exciting to be able to see it. And again, it was a lot of information, and it will take time to digest. However, it was presented. And so it should be on our district website. So for those of you that get into the details and all that kind of stuff, you'll be able to have at it. And that opportunity will be made available. I haven't checked today to see if it's on the website, but I'm sure it will be on there. So, but yes. And then it says, are any of the superintendent's remarks given to the board members before the meeting? No, not at all. No. Mm-mm. So we were able to speak in regards to that. But even within that presentation, there was other things outside of like mass data and, the spread of is going down. And let me tell you something, as a board member, as someone who lives in the community, I am excited to see that the spread is going down here in Cobb County, that the spread is going down in Metro Atlanta and in our other school districts. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm telling you, we are so excited that the spread is going down. There are many challenges that we continue to try to get through in regards to this. The testing piece is a really big piece because, I know for myself, when my family, we were going through, close contact letters and things like that, and just trying to find testing. And, most of the parents I spoke with, they just waited it out. They waited until symptoms got better. They never got tested because testing was not readily available. And so, all that goes into how we account and contact trace and things of that nature and document, a lot of these things. And so, but it was good to see that we had some information, at least a baseline of thought process into regards to how things are. And again, the bottom line is I'm excited to see that the spread is going down, and that's the blessed part about it. But also we need to look at our processes and make and those things that help support, our healthcare workers, our nurses in the building, and contact tracing, our administrators, to ensure that we have accurate data points to present. So I'm appreciative for that presentation on yesterday. I haven't had an opportunity to look at it, and maybe next week while we're on break, I'll do that. The latter part of the week, we'll be able to do that. But I think for me, my main concern was not necessarily about the data of the presentation. There were some other things that was addressed in regards to like employees taking a health week. I think he used it as a health and wellness week, and everyone will be off on next week. And so, as soon as he made the announcement, you can imagine text messages and my DM and my Facebook and just other places where everyone has access. They started asking questions, and it was unfortunate we were not able to ask questions and to get some of that clarifying information in regards to some of those great resources and great things that are happening in regards to like, just clarifying questions in regards to who's coming to work and who's not coming to work. And because it's funny because when we start talking about on a site level, our individual schools, I literally got a message from a custodial worker. And then on the flip side, I got a text message from a principal. That's two different dynamics of support in the building that had clarifying questions. And of course, they're going to have to wait and follow whatever protocol that they may have in regards to who they reach out to get that information. But that's what it is. Our community had, they have questions, and oftentimes we use that as an opportunity to address some of those clarifying questions, so that our administrators and different support people are not inundated all day with the same 100 questions. And so we were not given that opportunity on yesterday, and so that was very unfortunate. It was very unfortunate. And Valerie, I agree. The fact that he didn't take questions was unacceptable. It's unfortunate because again, that this is our responsibility to make sure that um, we give you the tools that you need to be successful. And not having the ability to govern and to ask those clarifying questions is a problem. It is a problem. And it's not even about the data or what was being presented. It's about having the ability to say, oh, we appreciate you presenting it. Here's questions. Because the health and wellness thing, I think that's a great thing. I think giving everybody an opportunity to just kind of like decompress and and get some self-care, I think I'm all for it 100%. How does this benefit everybody? And so having that opportunity was not allowed us. And as a result, in protest, I decided to leave the meeting along with two other board members, Dr. Howard and Sharice Davis, because again, it's very difficult to not be able to properly assess the information that's given and be able to ask the questions that you need us to ask for you on your behalf. And in that setting is the perfect setting for us to engage. And if there's more information that we need after that, because there will be, then we also have that line of communication where we can engage and ask those questions. But to not have it made available for whatever reason is poor governance, and it is unacceptable. And it should have been open discussion. Um, Again, it's a publicly held board meeting. You're right, Valerie. In fact, your statement is exactly right. This should have been an open discussion at a publicly held board meeting. I agree. I agree with you completely. And so that is part of a lot of this concern. No accountability. I saw a sense of arrogance as well, as though it was a bother to even provide the remarks. Yeah, yeah. And so hopefully we'll get to the place to where we can grow and and be able to understand all dynamics here in Cobb County, because we have, like I said, a very diverse community with a very diverse thought process, and every voice should be welcomed, and every thought process should be welcomed. But we're currently just not there. We're not there. Um, One of the things that was also mentioned was attracting employees and retaining them. When we talked about our bonuses for our food service department, for bus drivers and subs, and some of the information that was given, that 700 applications for substitute teachers came in, and the fill rate was up to 70%. That, again, issue, solution, results. And we wanted to be able to discuss that. I think that is excellent. I think that's a great thing. And looking to see how we can even support some of that thought process even after COVID, because we do know that substitute teachers tend to be one of those needs that we continue to have, that we had before COVID, we have during COVID, we're going to have after COVID. And so adjusting how we do some things to ensure that we have what we need to support our staff and support our students, to ensure that there's, this break or this break in education is that gap is filled properly. So let's see what else we had. Forbes list best K-12 district, third year in a row. Don't expect anything less. That was mentioned. And again, yeah, and the wellness week. This was one thing that was mentioned, that the fall learning quest will continue as planned. So the wellness week, the fall learning quest will continue as planned. And I think that's probably why I was getting questions from different levels of people who were either involved in the learning quest, or their building may be involved in the learning quest, and they wanted to know, hey, what does this mean? And I think the there was some things in regards to, like, people who are working on special projects, they'll still work, but they're going to find some ways to help still allow them an opportunity for some of this self-care that's being offered. And so that's correct. So Corinne, it says, there was no open dialogue. I support your decision to leave. When not allowed to participate in the process, leaving was the only choice. I am sorry. Thank you. And you're right. What's the point in being there if that's it? And so I agree completely. And so of course, and let me say this, as an adult, I find myself in a situation when I'm dealing with my children that I do not back them into a wall where I do not value their response to things. So, sometimes we're like, you hear what I say and it's what I said, and we shut them down and we don't allow them the opportunity to be empowered to speak what's on their heart and mind. And as a parent, I had to learn that, like, that's not really healthy. Let me allow my child to express their concern, good, bad, or indifferent, and then we work through that as well. And so it just reminded me of those opportunity. It just reminded me of that moment that I had to learn as a parent, that I'm giving you information, but I'm allowing you to also ask clarifying questions so that we have a better understanding on how we move forward together. And that was taken. And so as an elected official, duly elected, just like the other 6 members on the board, is it was a level of disrespect that has been growing, and it has, and this is not the first time. This is that type of leadership and mindset is pervasive, but it's not acceptable. And so I do have the ability to decide what's best for Trey and what's best for Post 3, and that type of environment is not. And so again, while I respect all of my board members, again, I've known some of them for over 30 years, and but there is a level of respect that must be given. And as a board member, I will demand it just like they demand their respect, and I give them their respect. So equally, I think we deserve the same. And so, any other questions, comments, concerns? That pretty much wraps up the debrief. And again, we're going to have someone from the Georgia Department of Education soon come and speak with us in regards to the 21st Century Grant, so we can get all the information that we needed. And those of you that are going away next week for fall break, hey, listen, be safe, be safe, be safe. We're still in a global pandemic, and we want to make sure that we are mindful of that while our breaks tend to increase the spread of coronavirus and COVID-19 within our buildings. So we just want to be mindful of that as we're enjoying this time for health and wellness. My children and I, we will actually be heading to DC, actually leaving shortly to go to DC, and we're going to enjoy the African American Museum, the Smithsonian, all that great stuff, but we also have work to do as well. So I'll be speaking with some elected and appointed officials as it relates to education nationwide. And so I'm appreciative for those connections that were made, and the opportunity to come and speak and to ask questions and to get some clarifying questions, because again, the only way that I can properly support our students and our families here in Cobb County is to make sure that I have the answers I need and have questions to those answers that will help benefit us. And so there is a Cognia question. Yes, Valerie, I overlooked you. My apologies. That was not intentional. Let me go back to it. Because there was a lot that had come in. Can you type it for me again? I'm sorry. Oh, no. Will there be a Cognia presentation to the board? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that process is. I do know that the Cognia report will go to the superintendent, just as all of their inquiry, all of the paperwork that we received back in February and March, all of that information goes to the CEO, the person that is in charge of running the organization, and that is the superintendent. I am sure that it will be at his discretion as to what he will share in regards to that. I'm not sure if it's a public document. I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure of that information. But I did see recently that Gwinnett County, who also who also had a review recently around the same time frame that we're in ours. Their report has already been released. So I'm sure, not many days after, we will be expecting something to come through, and again, it will be sent to the superintendent, and then I guess we'll see how we move forward after that particular part of the process of governing and ensuring that we have great schools and things of that nature. So I'm excited to see that, we did have Cognia come out to help support us as a district. And so, I welcome to see what they say and how we can move forward and be better, to ensure that all children have safe learning environment and have all the tools they need to be successful. And she said, and you said, you asked because it is not a public document. That's right. I'm not sure the process on that. And I think it's at the discretion of the superintendent. So we will see when the time comes. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right. Thank you, Valerie. Yes, I actually counted a privilege and an honor to serve those of you here in the southern portion of the county and all over Cobb County School District. So I thank you. Any other questions? And again, I apologize. This does not allow me to see all the questions in every media space. I thought that it did, and maybe that's something I need to work out on the back end. But again, thank you for your service. Unfortunately, things are unfolding as they are. Only the ballot box can fix them, and any updates on redistricting. Thank you, Ray. Yes, sir. You're right. That's right. You're right. Elections matter. So, and any update on no updates on redistricting. We didn't talk about it. It wasn't mentioned. There hasn't been any offline communication with me per se in regards to that process as well, and the board chair and the Board of Education. So as of right now, I don't have any information in regards to redistricting. Thank you, Corinne. I appreciate it. Just want to say, as someone in post 5 jurisdiction, it is so refreshing to see someone in a post who is truly fantastic and working to do their best for our kids. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. I appreciate you joining. Again, even though this platform is so that I can debrief and really hone in on those things that are specific to post 3. I am here to serve all of Cobb County. And again, most of the information is for everyone. So I appreciate you tuning in and watching, and we appreciate that. Mr. Q, I appreciate it. Thank you. We need to talk soon, real soon. And I bet there's plenty of offline communication on redistricting. Possibly, it's just not happening with me. So I'm not sure what that is. So don't have any updates on that. But I will say this, Ray. Because we have a member of the Cobb delegation who is a part of the redistricting committee, and just talking with him and then talking with other legislators. Our legislators are about to go back to session soon, November, I'm assuming, or anytime. I think they're just waiting. It may be anytime. They're going to be called back to session, and from my understanding, they're not really going to focus on local legislation. And those local lines as it relates to redistricting, it's going to be more state and county and things of that nature, but not necessarily all the way down to school board. And so, one of the things that everyone's watching to see is how will this affect qualifying for March of next year? And but just looking at timeline, I'm not sure that it will be in time to even affect anything next year, as far as those that may be seeking re-election or those that may be running, but again, we won't know probably closer until January. And I know that puts some people who are campaigning and things of that nature at a disadvantage, but I say move forward in your quest to serve our county and our children, in whatever capacity that looks like. And let's do that. So we'll see. Any other questions? I appreciate you. Again, we're right at our hour mark. In fact, we have 1 minute left. So if there's anything that's burning on your heart, I'm here. And even if those of you that are catching this after, just know that I do go back and reread the comments and answer questions that you may put in and things of that nature. And we'll go from there. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, everyone that has come and engaged with me this morning. And we will talk soon. All right. Until then, y'all be blessed. Have a safe weekend. Have a safe health and wellness week next week during our fall break. And again, we love you, and we'll talk with you soon. All right. Bye-bye.